Now we go to something more recent here about the science of ancient Egypt. Now, where did those sciences go? All the sciences that emerged from this other world, some of it were given to the temples in the later eras and the dynasties, but then where did they go? Now, when you lose your perception of the right brain, that means qualitative science is lost. Quantitative science emerges. Qualitative one is lost. So if we go further a bit here, we go to people like Pythagoras here. Now, Pythagoras, he is one of the founders of Western civilization. He's one of the founders of Western science, one of the fathers. So everything that you have in the Western civilization or the unconscious scientific Western mind goes back to the Greeks. That's what we usually attribute it to. It goes back to the Greeks. Now he's the father of music, he's the father of mathematics, the father of geometry and things like that. That's where everything that has to do with modern civilization in the West started. But where did Pythagoras learn it? Why stop there? Now, Pythagoras spent 22 years in the Egyptian temples. All the Greek philosophers who started the Western civilization went to Egypt to study in the ancient Egyptian temples. But with one little thing. There's a difference here. When they studied the qualitative sciences of the ancient time, these were secrets that could not be divulged because those sciences were very powerful. But every one of those sciences is like a coin. On one side you have the quality, on the other side you have the quantity. So they told them, you could go back to your countries, you could teach the quantitative aspects of our sciences because this will help humanity in a quantitative way. So you could teach mathematics. You could use that in a quantitative way. But you cannot interact or manipulate the universal powers through numbers or mathematics. That stays as temple knowledge. And when Pythagoras or people like him went back to Greece, they had to keep that knowledge. They couldn't divulge it because if you gave out that knowledge, there was a penalty of death. Even some of the closest followers of Pythagoras were put to death because they had that knowledge. One of them was tortured to speak, so he cut his own tongue, so he couldn't, he was under that oath. So we developed the science of the West. I don't have to go into all the sciences, but we developed all what we have today. Inside it, see, on the other side of the coin, all we have to do is flip the coin. You will find the 36,000 to the 40,000 year sciences of ancient Egypt. It's like you're out there on the periphery. The center is somewhere there. All you have to do is go search for it, go deep enough. From where? Where is the doorway? If Western science has come out from the work, from the qualitative or the quantitative aspects of the Greeks, you can do the reverse. You can go through those sciences and go to the other side, flip the coin, go to the doorway, and you're into the qualitative sciences, and then go deeper, deeper, deeper into the unconscious world and discover all those sciences. Now, this is not an easy matter. You see, the thing is, many people ask me, did you discover biogeometry from ancient Egypt? Because you're an Egyptian, you know so much about ancient Egypt. Did you really decipher it out? Many people think that. In reality, it doesn't work that way. In reality, you cannot get something that you do not understand. No, you have to learn it in your modern, through your physics, so we developed physics of quality, we developed all the things that Robert spoke about and all that, and then we had the key to go back and find it. I'll give an example. We always saw people, I mean, in the drawings of ancient Egypt in the papyrus, a person would be sitting and somebody would be behind opening his skull like that and playing around in it. Yeah, so you would say, okay, 40 years ago or something, when we didn't even have the notion of a brain operation, that it was possible, what could this be? Opening somebody's head, working in it. So it must be some initiation thing. It must be symbolic. It can't be really, they don't open somebody's head like that and he's sitting down and play around there, no. So then we make brain operations. All of a sudden, somebody says, well, maybe those drawings were brain operations, but they're abundant. So if they're abundant everywhere, all those things, every medical papyrus has those things. Okay, let's look at the mummies. You go to the mummies and then you find some of them had brain operations done. And then the doctors come and say, oh yes, they used those instruments and those instruments. Yes, now we know they did their brain operations. There's even a mummy from which a brain tumor is removed through a tiny hole. Most of them, they cut the skull open and then they take away the tumor and put it back again. But some of them have a tiny hole. They go through there, they know where the tumor is, and they cut it into small pieces and throw it out. So when we did that lately, then we go and find it there. Some of the things we don't even know yet. For example, in ancient Egypt, they have a doctor for the right eye and a doctor for the left eye. Now, we're not there yet. But when you get there, you will understand that, especially those of you people who study energies, polarity of the body and all that, everything from which you have two would have different polarities. So, and in biogeometry, we do lots of exercises. We can show you very nice exercises with the eyes. I can see, for example, take any organ in the body that's out of function, that has a problem. And if it has a problem, usually it's overactivity or underactivity. So usually it's a polarity problem and that we have to restore the balance. So closing one eye could make it better. Closing the other eye could make it worse, if it's a matter of polarity. Now we do that exercise, but of course, a medical doctor, if you tell him that this eye interacts with the organ differently than this eye with the organ, this is a bit still, but it will come one day. Oh, the Egyptians had in their medical discipline a doctor for the right eye and doctor for the left eye. It's not that they had too many doctors, they didn't know where to put them, so they said that, no. So if we go a bit ahead, you will see that this is humanity, and an ancient study, they say, where did humanity start, where did it go? And you see that humanity started in this area of the world. That's where you find in Africa going all the way through Europe here and going that way, and from that to the Americas and all that. So the oldest human remains of millions of years ago, they all come from that area here. So, but even when we speak about that, you're speaking about the humans. Now, if I was living in that era, that means somebody with a physical body would be living with somebody with an angel, and they would both be solid to each other. But once that world disappears, they would disappear with it. So if you say, okay, if this is true, why don't I find tombs for those angels or tombs for those creatures? Because they disappeared with their world. You will find them when you die. Go there, you'll find them all. It's all there. See, I'm going to make you want to pass over very quickly. Yeah, if I didn't have commitments here, you know, I'd be the first to go. Yeah, no, really, if the world's like that, living in that depth of subconscious, if it's like that, now imagine all that is not lost. All that is in each one of you in this room. So Egypt here is a phenomena a phenomena in the depth of the unconscious. It's not the country of Egypt, it's not the people of Egypt, it's, of course, we're the people of Egypt, come on, don't put us aside, huh? Yeah, but it's the phenomena of ancient Egypt that I want you to look at. Look, this is an ancient Egyptian plane. A colleague of mine, a medical doctor, you find his name in my book too, and this plane, we found that in the Egyptian Museum. Now, this was very strange. There are several models of this. The wing has an aerodynamic section like an airplane. And then the tail is vertical, like an airplane. Birds would have the tail in the other direction, and the wings would be different. So, if you have models of planes that are in every detail very sophisticated, that means they could have had planes either in the period, in the dynastic historical period, or they were in that other period that we lost and we're still trying to sort of connect to. So this plane was sent to an aeronautic institute in the United States, and they said that this would be a slow flying cargo plane. It had the dimensions and all that, but they said definitely it's a plane, it's not a bird. See, here it is. So you see, you can't have that, those vertical tails here, and you see the form of the glider here and all that. Okay, it has eyes, but it's a plane, it's not a bird. Then some people found other shapes like that in very ancient temples that could be ancient planes, whether they are from the era. Like you also find things in India. They have planes from 9,000 years ago in their manuscripts. Were those in an era where we are in the dynastic physical right brain world, or were those just before the shift? We wouldn't know today unless we find one. So here, a unified science of quantity and quality, this is what we need to save our civilization. You see, we shouldn't only look at quantity. For example, we develop electromagnetic radiation. We look at it from certain ways. Our science has developed in such a way, when you are in the quantitative science, then you make an experiment, but you know, remember, we're in the separateness in the world of left brain. You should be separate from your experiment. Now, in quantum physics, they're trying to show us that you can't really be fully separate, but in science, you have to be separate. This thing should weigh so many pounds, whether I'm in the room or out of the room. This thing should have this color, whether I'm in the room or outside the room. Okay, but it doesn't say how it relates to me. Only through the relationship with a human being that you can say it's heavy or it's light. Otherwise, it's just a number. So you always need to, bring back the human being into the formula. We've developed a science, we've developed a very advanced civilization by keeping the human being out of the development and then developing things to bring him leisure and to bring him advances in technology. But he wasn't there in all his levels, in his vitality, emotional, mental. He wasn't there as part of the formula. So, since he wasn't there as part of the formula, we developed something like electromagnetic radiation, that's the age of information, and we discover every day how it's harming us. Then we will reach a threshold where the immune systems of all living species on Earth will just collapse. And maybe we'll watch it on TV. Yeah, because we're so left-brained, you know. So we'll watch it on TV and see, oh, life is ending here. Okay, CNN comes, you see, people are dying in Africa, people are dying here, this, and bye-bye, and the last person comes out on TV, says his last bye-bye. Yeah, so, but it takes us a bit far away, but it is a reality. You know, once the electromagnetic radiation is filling the atmosphere becomes like a hard disk, a computer hard disk. You will have fantastic advances in technology. You know, any one of you, I can just put maybe his name and the code, maybe his weight or things like that, and I could find him anywhere in the world because it's like a hard disk. Any information, I could find it. See, but somebody in the government might come and press a button that says delete. that wouldn't be a nice thing. But if you do this, a science without the human being as the measure of all things, that they say the human being is the measure of all things, that means in his mental, emotional, vitality aspects, the human being has to be the center of all measurements, and that's qualitative science. Qualitative science means the human being is the measure. So you test any new device, you measure it on the human being. You see, this chair might be comfortable. I might be sitting on it and say, look, the anatomy here, the human being is very happy sitting on that chair. Okay, when that chair is made of plastic or leather that has been tanned in a certain way, or I don't know what, and then you go into all the higher levels, you find that you're killing the human being who's sitting comfortably on that chair, you see? So we need to bring the human being back in the formula, and that is qualitative science. That is biogeometry, trying to bring the human being back in the formula. I want an electricity that does not harm me. If I'm so clever that I can put pictures of information, see all the internet, on electromagnetic radiation, why can't I do something that it doesn't harm me? Yeah. Because I don't care about the human being. Yeah. If I cared about it, then I'd do something about it. But we don't care about it. I mean, officially, electromagnetic radiation is harming nobody. Officially. Yeah, officially. I mean, my colleague here, Pier Paolo, was discussing with the school in order not to put, he was telling them, you don't put wireless for children in schools. So it's better not to put it, and then maybe, or if you insist on having computers for children and all that thing, so maybe we'll give you a solution with biogeometry to save those children. And the reaction was, the owner of the school or the director say, who says electromagnetic radiation is bad for children? I sit at home, I have my iPad, I have my this, I have my Wi-Fi, and I have everything, and I'm perfectly healthy. Yeah, he might be perfectly healthy, living on high blood pressure pills and cholesterol pills and I don't know what, and he's perfectly healthy. But the whole notion is, what's all this nonsense that you're coming with? The children are perfectly all right. And then half of the children have ADHD, for example, or things like that. And we have research where we used biogeometry on handicapped children in schools, and we got fantastic results with ADHD just by eliminating the electromagnetic stress. So we need a unified science that takes the quality back into it. Biogeometry is, let's say, one of those sciences. It shouldn't be the only one. It shouldn't stand there alone. I hope that maybe very soon we have started the physics of quality. So if people understand the physics of quality, so many other sciences, or you could bring that into all existing sciences. You don't have, the quality can be added. It's an add-in into all existing sciences. Okay, we went through that, the qualitative science and all that, the differences between quality and quantity, so I'll just move up because we have 15 minutes to go, and I know that, okay, that's my book. You'll find it here. And now, in order to feel that you haven't lost anything, is just arm's length away, but on the inside, you know, swallow your arm on the inside. Yeah, it might be a bit tricky, but if you keep training, you know, open your mouth really well, put your hand inside, and all that. If somebody would like to come up and demonstrate this, how to do it, it's not far away. It's at the core of our scientific world. It's at the core of everything we do. It's at the core of every profession that you have. There is not one profession. I dare anybody to tell me a profession through which I cannot go inside and find the qualitative core, you see. So maybe my book will give some insights on that. Now, you see, there are glimpses in the ancient Egyptian science that are still with us today. One of those important sciences is the science of harmonics. But today, harmonics is regarded by many as just a part of music. You study it in music. But if we go back a bit and we just add one word, like Pythagoras when he came out of the temples of Egypt. So world harmonics or universal harmonics, where it's not just that, let's say, a musical string resonates with every other string that's double the length or half the length, so you call them all the same name. It's not just this resonance of harmonics. No, let's take it. The ancient sciences now, everything resonates with everything. For example, this musical note could resonate with this shape. This shape could resonate with this. This table could be resonating with an organ in your body in such a way because you're looking at it. So everything here, we're speaking about the old time again, where everything becomes a unity. Because everything is resonating with everything. So if you start understanding how everything resonates with everything else, it's just like if you were a musical note living in the very advanced science today, and you want to say, okay, I'm going to study the depth of that musical note, you know. I go into its frequency, into its wavelength, and into this, and to that, and all that. So I keep going more and more into it, what it does, how do I hear it, what it affects this, and how do I do this. But then, okay, it's fantastic. This is modern science, very good. But there's another aspect to it. If you are a musical note, and you become aware of your place in the symphony, you see, it's a completely different way of thinking. Once I know my place in the symphony, that means I'm one with everything, and everything is part of me, and I'm part of everything. So everything cannot function without me, and I cannot function with everything, because one note in the whole symphony, take it out, and then the whole thing collapses. So imagine, all of a sudden, if you know your place in the universal symphony, it's such a fantastic thing. It gives so much power over everything, but at the same time, you're not deluded with this power, because at the same time, you see yourself small in relationship to everything. So ancient harmonics is one of the sciences that was there in ancient temples. And BioGeometry is one of the ways that you revive ancient harmonics. There are scientists like Johann Kaiser and all that in Switzerland in the 40s. They revived the harmonics, but stayed really anchored into music and notes and things like that. But they spoke about the world harmonics. I mean, they really opened the door, speaking what was world harmonics. But using it in a practical way, that's what we do in BioGeometry. You see, for example, the relationship of shapes. I could say that your ear is in resonance with your kidney. I mean, there's a resonance of shape here. Why not? I mean, just test it and see. You'll find it's in resonance. So I could then say, okay, you say, but these are two shapes. Okay, your ear is in resonance with that vowel or with that letter. Now, they're two different things. Or your ear is in resonance with that color. You see, everything in the world is one universal harmonic system. Once, what does this resonance that we have here mean? Resonance means exchange of information. Resonance means that I affect everything and am affected by everything. So let's say I'm speaking here. You would think in conventional science, okay, his voice might be affecting us in many ways, okay? But then I would say, go in the world of resonance. Every one of you, when he listens to my words, he's affecting me. And then what are we transmitting to each other? We're not transmitting to each other just, let's say, the information in your conscious data bank, in your awareness. No. In reality, in the transformation goes everything in the depth of your subconscious. So there is something, for example, when you go back to this point here. If I look at my senses, okay, we've studied them a lot in the conventional way, but let's look at them in a different way now. Now I'm going to explain something, this science, how it relates to the senses, but I would advise you all to put your fingers in your ear and not to listen to me for the next 5 minutes. Because it will give you some responsibilities you might not want to take. So it's up to you. You don't want to close your ears, it's up to you. Now, when I look at something, the fact that I'm seeing it, without going into the brain, the energy comes in my brain, it gets worked out, the image gets processed and gets projected outside and all that. But at the core of all this is a resonance between me and the object. Now, that means when I look at an object, all the conscious and unconscious information of that object are copied into my energy system. And all my conscious and unconscious information is again projected on that energy system, let's say of that tree or that flower. So I am responsible to be an agent of positive evolution of everything that I interact with my 5 senses. Otherwise, I am causing harm. For example, if I'm not taking care of my health, see, that concerns me, that doesn't concern you. I can eat the wrong thing, I can do the wrong thing. Who are you to tell me not to do this, to do this? I have a problem, that's my problem. Yeah? It's not like that. When I look at the tree, then all this unconscious junk in there is transmitted to the tree. So, am I responsible for having a negative effect on everything I see, everything I hear, everything? Am I responsible for that? Well, when you didn't know it, you were not responsible. So only the people, that's why I told you, put your fingers in your ears. You didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to me. Now you're responsible for everything that I'm saying. So, yeah, everything you interact with through the 5 senses, you are responsible for its evolution, its energetic evolution. Now, this is a very tricky thing. Your mind can never achieve the perfect harmony to relieve you of the responsibility of doing any harm. You have only one thing. You have to bring harmony into everything your 5 senses interact with. But you don't know how. So you're responsible. You pay the price. How can you be part of the whole and then having a negative effect of the whole? It's like an organ in your body doing everything wrong and saying, that's my problem, you know. It's not your... The whole body reacts. So we have to bring this unconscious thing in balance or in harmony. Now, when I say unconscious thing, it's not just my individual let's say, information. Because as you go in the depth of the subconscious, the deeper you go, the more collective it becomes, the more connected you become. So let's say you have problems in your neighborhood, you have problems in your country, you have political problems, you have something like that. So don't think, oh, I don't care what the industry is doing. See, I'm living my life, I don't care what they're doing. They're throwing, I don't know, nuclear waste here, they're doing that, I don't care about that. Well, you're part on the collective unconscious, you're transmitting that also to the tree, and you're responsible. So you tell me, yes, but I can't do anything about it. You can do something about it. Now, how do I go about that? And that's what we do. We need a science, a new science, completely new science. And BioGeometry, like Robert explained so well before, starts from this central harmonizing, balancing energy that can be found in the centers and spiritual power spots and all that. If you bring that into your system, a higher source automatically brings balance into all those depths of the subconscious and unconscious that you are not even aware of, and puts it in the projection or in the resonance when you interact with things around you. So now you don't have to really carry the responsibility, because you'll be doing a good thing. All the systems around you, you'll be putting them in evolution. And how do you do that? This energy, what we call the BG3, the components, the spiritual balancing energy and all that, has to enter into your everyday work, into your everyday actions, whatever it is. So your everyday action, whatever you do, has to be an action that brings harmony, spiritual balance into whatever you do. But it is not something you don't have to think, I'm praying, getting the light from down there and sending it down there, and then I go about my work. No, my work is the way of doing it, you see. My work should reach a level. Last year we spoke about that the essence of every spiritual religion or everything in the world is achieving excellence of action. So by practicing excellence of action, it is already a way of having a positive effect on other things. Now, of course, BioGeometry is the first science that is built on this exact concept. I mean, you would say, okay, there are so many laboratories in the world that work with the energy of shape. Yes, they produce very nice future weapons and things like that. But BioGeometry has a sort of a cornerstone. That cornerstone is that BG3 energy that you do not sort of produce. No, in BioGeometry, the ultimate goal for me is, in whatever activity I do, to achieve a method of excellence that opens the door for that balancing energy to come in, you see. Because I'm not living in it anymore. I'm not in the 36,000 years ago. So all I have to do is just open the door, and all my old friends from the past days there, you know, all the guys that are on the other side, the angels and all that, will say, hey, we're back, you're back here, come on in, where do you want help? What's all the mess you did in your world, you know? Oh, that's, why did you do all this mess? Okay, please help us and come in. So actually, the highest level we reach that through a science of BioGeometry is, I call myself, I become a doorman. You know, yeah, I just open the door. And then the 40,000 years of wisdom of history will come through that door. So that is, I think we've reached 9 o'clock, so I won't go along with that, but that's a good ending, I think. Having a human being at the end is good. So, yeah, this is not, you see, this was not something to tell you that you have to study BioGeometry. No. It's not that, but it is my belief that this is the direction of the future. So for me, it is not a science. When you look at the first thing, you'd say, oh, he did so many things, so many things. What drove him for so many years to do all that? That's quantitative thinking. No, the qualitative thinking is a mission. A mission to go to the roots of the subconscious, open the door, bring my friends, my world, back to live with us here. So that is ancient Egypt at the core of our existence here. Now, a last question before I thank you and say, well, good night, is how many people here have a feeling that they, that they have a link to ancient Egypt or to Egypt? Well, I'm happy to see that. So I thank you all for coming and for inviting me to speak here, and it was really an honor to be in front of you. Thank you, and see you next year. Thank you. Thank you.